I got this comment the other day, which I really appreciate. Essentially, the person didn't understand the entire topic, but they watched today, and that is, I guess that's some great support. So how can I not appreciate that? Now, what I want to do is just look at some low-level web concepts per se to see if I can really explain what is happening. But just to answer the question like from the start, the video itself here is just looking at changes. So essentially there are changes to the different parts that make the tool, and we want to ensure that it is still compatible. So what I'm working on is a web application for the department, the humanities department that I work with at the university. And this is just a draft of everything. I just put together some stuff, and so I just want to use it as an example. So what I'm going to do is to actually just go to public. This is where I can really start and show you what everything is all about. So if I go to, I'm going to use a command to create a new file. So you can see at the bottom there it says enter file name. I'm going to call it index.html. Now that's the special name that I've given to that file, and the extension, the .html, is the extension that is used for certain files that run on the web. And every website from Amazon, eBay, Fedorae, any one of them will always have HTML or some form of it. So what I'm going to do here is just to go ahead and create a block. So what we have here is a block element in HTML. I'm going to put something in here and just to can't type. And I'm going to save this. Still some more keyboard stuff. And if I refresh this page here, what you see here now is that it says something. We're serving this HTML file. So what websites and stuff like that they do is that they're looking for this specific page here. As I said before, if I rename it to something else, then I'll have to shift. But once we have that, we'll probably just have to shift it over and type the correct name. But once we have this index.html, the browser is pretty much looking for it and looking for this extension here also. If we should consider from a host perspective, like we're building a host, what the HTML file aspect of creating web services does is that it creates a structure. So we're looking at the concrete, steel, and that aspect of it to ensure that the foundation is laid. So that is what this part of the web programming does. There's also the styling part to make it look pretty and all that, and that's kind of the primary focus of actually this video here. I'll copy something that I have. This is a thing that I had created about 5 years ago. I have it on my GitHub, but I think it's private. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this here, this part that says style, and these things that are in here, I'm going to remove it. I'm going to save this file, go back to here. Let me refresh that. I'm just doing a Control R to refresh. And what we can see here is we have header, we have aside, we have content 1, 2, 3, and footer. So if we go back now to here, you will notice that this is the same thing I had showed you before. It says we have this div. This is a block element, so we can look here and we can think of it from, this is the roof of the house, this is the body section of the house, and then we have this foot area here, and usually we put this in a footer tag. So I could change that to a footer, and here this also could be shifted to a header tag, and I just have some shortcuts or some hotkeys that allows me to automate some of these stuff. So if you notice, I didn't have to type out that there. I'm going to change this here up the top and put basic, and then I'm going to show you how this whole roof analogy comes into play. So if I save this now, so I just saved it, I'm going to head back over here and I'm going to refresh again. At the top now, you will notice that it says basic, because this now is a title, as it would have displayed that this is the title of the web page itself. And if we go over to Fedorae, you will notice that up here it has that specific title, and we can change that and have it dynamic and stuff like that, and this is where frameworks and stuff come into play. But again, we have this, and this is our foundation of our website essentially. If we look at, let me go ahead and group these together so we can see them. So we can consider this part up here to be the header, where we have the navigation and the cart and stuff like that. That side I'm going to show an example of the aside in a second, but let me just continue with content. So this could be content number 1, this could be content 2 right here, this could be content 3 down here, and then with the footer is all the way down here, which we have these links and stuff like that and additional contact information. So we can look at this as that structure. Obviously, Fedorae looks a little bit different. That's because it has a styling. And for the aside, I said I was going to touch on that. So let me just drag this over some more. So we have a more layout. And if we go to contacts, you'll notice this thing over here. This essentially is that aside, but because it's not styled as Fedorae is, you won't notice it. So let me just jump back over now to the IDE, which is where we code all of this. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. And I'm gonna paste this back in here. What we will see is that we'll see a change. So we can go here and we refresh, well, the wrong thing, I refresh. Let me refresh this here, and now you'll see there's a difference. The header now is more set up, so it's now centered, it has some spacing. These are to the left. This aside now is to the right, as I would have showed you on the example on Fedorae here, and the footer now is at the bottom and it's full, and it fills everywhere, and we have some color. This is essentially what is being said here. It's saying that this little symbol here is saying that these are selectors, are CSS selectors. So that's cascading style sheets, and this is what we use to style web pages. Every single web page does this. We may have some obstruction in the way in which it is done, but every one of them does this. So here we're saying that we want a background color to be red, and we also want the text to be centered, and we also want some spacing around it. So this is what we're getting here. And the same thing that is said for the content. The only difference for the content here is that we have it right aligned. We have some margins. So this little space should be here. So this space here between this and this is actually what is doing that. That side, you can see, is telling us that we're floating it to the right, as you can see, it's over here. And we change the background color, addition, the same thing, and the footer is pretty much the same as what would have been the header. And there are different ways in which we can accomplish this here. Another CSS selector is this ID. So if I change this here to ID, and you see that I change this to a hash, you should not notice any difference because it does pretty much the same thing. Another thing that we can do also is to do this inline. So if I put a style tag on here and just go ahead and I'm gonna copy these. So that's essentially what I'm doing here. I'm using a command. All of these are just commands that I'm using to just automate the process. So just bear with me as I go through this. So let me remove this so we don't have any confusion, and let me go here and put this all on one single line and save it. And again, you should notice no difference because we have it essentially what we're saying is that it's inline. I'm going to delete it and save it and just refresh just so we confirm that I actually did something. So let's go ahead now. So that's there. So we have this now inline. However, for a website like Fedorae, obviously, let me refresh it so we get back everything. Obviously, that isn't scalable. There's no way that we're going to be inline in our writing these styles, whether or not we're writing them exactly on the element itself or the block, as we're using the analogy before. And there's no way that we're going to have, in most cases, there's no way that we're really going to have all of this style in here, because obviously, if, let's say for argument's sake, I'm going to do something I'm going to copy this here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it 10 times. So again, these are just tricks that I'm using because I know the ID well enough. So you can see that. Imagine that this is the case. We have all of these and we're constantly writing this, this, and this. And for Fedorae that has so many different pages, we'd have to be doing this over and over and whatever. So what happened is that, let me just undo that. What happened is that we think a better approach to do this as opposed to writing them inline. So imagine that we have to do this for all of these different elements here. That isn't scalable. There's definitely no way that is scalable. So what we would typically do here is we take these out. Let me just undo all of this. well, we can leave this as is so we have a difference. So what we typically do is we take all of this out and we put it in a separate file. So I'm going to create a new file now called style.css. And I put two S's there, which is not right. So this should be style.css. And I'm going to paste it in there. I'm going to format this here with my formatter. And we save this now. And we are going to delete these out. And what we want to do is to link that style, what is called a style sheet, to our index.html now. So if we go over here, and just to show that this is difference, I could change the color here to black. And there are different ways for us to do this. I don't want to be confusing, but there are also different ways for us to get those colors. So we could use the hex symbol. I think 3, this should be black as well. And if I go over here, and now we're going to link it. So we put a link tag. We're gonna have a rel, and our rel is just identifying what this is in a sense, and this is a style sheet, and we're going to link to it. So this now is at /style.css, and I'm gonna close this out. As you can see, most of these tags, we have this closing thing here. This one is self-closing, so that's why we can do that. So if I save this now and we head back over here and sure we're on the right thing, we refresh, you notice that this now becomes black, and you can't see the text, so I may have to change this. And how I think I don't really do much of these, but I think the color now would be FFF, which would be white, so that we can see that. Refresh, and now it's white. So that's how in a way we use this to alleviate ourselves, to make it much easier for us to handle the different styles, because obviously for a large scale project like Fedorae or Amazon or any one of those, there's no way that we're going to be doing this. However, again, this still isn't scalable, because what we have to do now is that what you're noticing is we are pretty much targeting all of these elements over and over. So we have to be putting on these styles. What if we have some complex logic? Let's say we go back over to Fedorae here, where we have this outline area and stuff like that. We have these things that when we put it smaller, you notice that it will wrap together and go into this way here where it's falling on, it's falling onto each other, are becoming block elements structured. And when we have these, for example, to do all of that, and some of these, you see that when it comes in a while ago, it hovered, it fade in smoothly and stuff like that, and the ability to like open these, it's a lot to really sit down and write all of that for yourself in these files. And you typically, you'll probably have multiple of these. You don't necessarily gonna have just one, have multiple of them. And what happens is that there are persons who are teams that work on different types of these, and there are multiple of them. The ones that we pretty much use are the one that we use for for this package here is called UIKit. And this is incredibly lightweight. It's one of the reasons why Fedorae is so fast in rendering and stuff like that. And this is one of the ways in which we use it. So here we go. We have these different styles that are pre-built for us, so we don't have to build them ourselves. So somebody else did the hard work of building it for us, and we just get to capitalize on it and use it for ourselves, which is awesome. So that's how we pretty much leverage it. So if I go here, and this is how it looks. So we have this UK, which essentially is a prefix for it, and then it tells us the class name. So it's the same thing if we go back over here. Well, let me go back to the index.html. So if we go back over here, it's the same class thing here. We just have it in a different form. So we have this prefix, and so these are just predefined ways in which this thing here occurs. It's just predefined ways. So that's what it is. I'm gonna copy this over. And I'm gonna head back over to the index.html page, and inside of content one here, I'm going to paste it, and let me just format that like this again. All right, so we have it there, and what I will do is I will save this, and if we go back over to this, I'm going to refresh that. You can see that we have it here because we have that old styling, but instead of using so you see, well, I'm going to remove this actually. Let me just comment this out, and this is if we don't want code to run in HTML, this is how we do it. So we'll just comment that out, and I'm going to refresh it. I don't want to go too fast because I'm just trying to explain as well, but just for you to get the gist. So you see that this is what we get if we don't have this styling here. Now, what I want to do is to show you a way in which this is the easiest way for us to get it it to work, and that is by just installing it. And the easiest way is for us to do the same linking thing that we did before. So I copy the link, and you can see that this is just pointing to the same an external version of this. So the same way we had this here, it's the same, we're just pointing to one of them that is on the internet. So you can see that this is now a URL that we're pointing to, and we still have that .css extension here, additional one, but primarily this is the important part of it. If we actually go and open this link here, so this is the same link that we copied not too long ago. If we go ahead and open it, you'll see that this is in a sense pretty much exactly what we're showing, but it's scrambled together. So I'm gonna remove this I'm gonna remove the min right there and just show the CSS itself. So if we look at it, you'll notice that it's the same thing that I was showing inside the style.css sheet. We have this dot symbol here, and then what it is doing, showing colors and stuff like that. So it's pretty much essentially the same thing, just targeting that CSS selector. And if I should just grab and scroll this down, you'll notice that there's like a whole lot of them. So a whole lot of them that was pre-built for us to reuse, copy, and whatever for our projects. So if I save this here and I go back to here and refresh, you'll notice that we have that beautiful layout that we were looking at before. That's how we get that done. What I can do here also is I'm gonna remove this, and if we do a container here, a UK container, which is a class that is on there, you can see that we now have it more in the middle. We have some spacing around here because these are predefined for us. So essentially what that is saying is the UK container is essentially saying that we are putting some of these all around. So this padding thing here is going right around the thing here. So this side and this side. And that's why we get it here, and we also have it centered also. So that kind of explains the way in which are the importance of well, packages and other persons building on this. So what we do now at Fedorae is that for the framework, essentially we work with Nuxt, and this is again is a project. So what we do is that we package a version of it, a version of this here into so we package essentially a version of these styles essentially into a module or into some, how do I put this? So it's a very simple term. Packaged in such a way that it works with this framework here, and that is why we're able to just say we put it here as a dependency, which is essentially saying that for this module, for this application to work, it requires this here. And what this here does, or what this here does, it essentially does the same thing that I was showing right here of taking the styles and putting it right here, and you don't have to do it. That's essentially what it's doing. There are some additional niceties that it does. I won't get into the details, but just for the most basic explanation to be given, that is essentially what it's doing. Just taking the styles packaged in such a way to make it easier. So the UIKit, or the persons who created UIKit, made it easy for us to not have to write these ourselves. And what we do is essentially make it easy so that you don't have to do the integration. Again, there are some additional complexities. I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible. So we just make it easier to work with it in this specific framework, and the framework is essentially what we use to build the software web applications. One additional thing that I can do is actually go ahead and click and view the page source for the page, and it's essentially showing that same HTML thing that I was mentioning before. So we have the head and a lot of different stuff in there, and we have the body and all this good stuff. But if we should look in the head, I am unable to format this. I don't know, I want to just copy it. But if we should just scroll over, where is the scroll bar here? You will see that we have this style sheet thing here. It's the same thing that I was mentioning before. So we have link, style sheet, ref, and it pretty much goes to that same UIKit admin, that CSS thing that I was mentioning before. We're just putting them using the module, just really injecting them inside of the top of the header of the page. So this just essentially just package it in a nice way to make it work. Now, if we can go back here, I probably could just delete this now, but I think we touched base on that at this point. So if I go back over here, I'm gonna refresh. Now we should see this back to the state, and what is allowing that to occur is the fact that we built this module essentially to put it here, as you can see, and it does what I was telling you before, essentially put it into the header. There are some additional complexities as it relates to what actually occurs, but yeah. And what happens now is that when we go to, for example, the index page, where is it? We go to, see, this time we have an index view, but this, again, this is another HTML. It's just the same thing as we can see here. And now we can use those classes. You can see now we have this UK section, default. I think there are different types of these, and this is what makes it work. I shared before the container, so this is something I would have shared, and that is how it works essentially, by just putting in this module. If I went and removed this here, let's say I deleted that, and I would have to remove it from up here also. So I removed it there. So I removed those. This is restarting now, as you can see, it's automatically restarting. And if we go back over here, you can see that now everything is the way that we were showing it before. So it's all over the place and nothing is really aligned and pretty the way that it was before, and that is the importance essentially of the module. So the module is what we use to make this integration to have it work. So let me undo what I did, and again, we don't need none of this, so I should remove that. We don't need that. And if I put back this, it's restarting here, and if it should properly refresh. And there we go. So you can see that it comes back to life the way that it really should. So I hope that explains it for the most part. If the topic was clear, again, just to reiterate, the module itself pretty much is just packaging some tools to allow us to create these web applications, make them look pretty, give some functionalities and all of that, and we just make it easy for it to integrate as it relates to why we were looking at whether or not it works with the different framework version. Is just for compatibility reasons. So let me hear what you think. If you want me to look at like how the functionality part of the website, because I only look at the style and the structure, there's also a third component of it, which is like when you click the button, what happens and that. So if you want me to look at that, you can let me know. But yeah, thank you for this comment. It's really great, and I'm grateful for the support. So I'll see you guys in the next one.